So I've got three odd things I've noticed about the new Tacoma, the 2024 Tacoma. One of them you might be able to hear as I'm driving along. Very odd. Number one, the seat. Now, I love the seat, the driver's seat. I mean, it's comfortable. I can get it adjusted the way that I want it. The under thigh support that I've talked about a few times on the channel is perfect. But something weird is going on. Every time I get in the truck, I have to readjust the height of the seat. It's like the seat lowers by itself. Now, it's not an electric seat, right? So it really shouldn't be lowering by itself. But every time I get in it, I feel like I'm sitting lower and I have to crank up on that lever over there, right? It's really odd. I don't know what it is. It's like while I'm driving along, I'm slowly settling in the seat. Very strange. And the reason that I think that it is lowering, well, other than my perspective when I'm sitting in here, is because I've cranked it so many times that if the seat wasn't lowering, my head would be hitting the ceiling right now. It's just very odd. I don't know what it is. It's like there's something not catching right or holding in the mechanism. We'll see. I'm actually gonna do a little bit of a test. I'm gonna measure it and see if indeed it is getting lower, because there's just no way that I could possibly keep raising it and not be hitting the ceiling. I don't know. The second thing is in the gauge cluster. You know, I'm a stickler for PSI, the pressure in the tires, right? I always check it all the time because for some reason down here in South Texas, it seems that you lose a lot of air pressure. I don't know if it's because of the extreme heat or sometimes we have fronts come through and it's different pressure. I don't know what it is, but I always want to be able to see it. Now, I thought the gauge cluster was adjustable to however you wanted it and that it would maintain whatever you set it at, right? So I went through the first time and I set it for the PSI, the air pressure gauge or whatever, to show on the dash, which by the way, it's very good. It's easy to see, works really well, don't have any problems with that. But every time I turn the truck off and restart the truck, it changes. It changes to whatever's playing on the radio. Now, I've got to be missing something because there's no way that you shouldn't be able to set this and leave it the way that it was. In other words, have the truck leave it the way that it was. It just doesn't make any sense to me that we have all this flexibility now with the gauge cluster, but we can't leave what we want. And you know, interestingly, on the right side, I have it set for fuel economy because I'm kind of watching how the truck's doing, you know, to let you guys know, my own curiosity. So it always stays there. It never defaults back to anything else, like the radio. So I've got to go through that direction or the directions again or something and try to figure that out. By the way, if you know anything about either one of these, do me a favor and leave a comment down below and let me know, because I'd be very curious if it's just me or if you guys are noticing the same thing going on, particularly on the seat. It's very odd. The third thing is the glove box. You know, I had a comment on the channel recently. Somebody said something about the glove box making noise. And I really had no idea what they were talking about until today. I took off from my house, went down a bumpy road, and I could hear like a rattle noise coming from over there. Now, usually when I hear something like that, I would think it's something that I have in the glove box, right? I mean, if you put something in there that's gonna jiggle around and stuff, well, obviously, you're gonna have noise. But that's not the case. The glove box does not shut tightly. In other words, when I reach over and push on the glove box, it feels like there's about a 1/4 inch or so gap for movement. In other words, it'll go in further and out further and in further and out further. And that's what's happening when I'm driving down the road. It's actually moving in and out, if you will, on the road, if that makes any sense. So I don't know if there's some kind of an adjustment there. I'm gonna have to take a look at that myself. But it's just a kind of a weird little thing, you know? As far as the rest of the truck goes, everything else has been spot on. And I really do think the gauge cluster issue is my own issue. I don't believe that's a truck problem. I think that's a user error problem. But everything else has been spot on. You know, a lot of times when you get a new truck or a new vehicle and it feels really quick, after you drive it for a while, it seems like it loses power, right? I haven't noticed that in this truck. It still feels really, really good. Just as quick and as powerful as it always has been. And that's a good thing because I like acceleration and this truck has plenty of acceleration. Another thing is the comfort of it. I think sometimes after you drive a truck for a while, it starts to become less comfortable, if that makes sense. You start to feel things, you know, like in your back or in your legs or whatever from the seat that maybe aren't really all that comfortable. I am happy to say that I have not experienced this, and even more so because I have commented several times about how comfortable this seat is. It'd be a shame if all of a sudden I discovered, you know what, it's really not that comfortable. Not the case, and I do not miss the power adjustable seat, except if indeed the seat is lowering by itself. It's almost like the spring in there is not tight enough or something. I don't know, it's a very odd thing. But like I said, otherwise the truck is awesome. Fuel economy wise, I have dropped a little bit, probably because I've been experimenting with the pedal commander, you know, changing it into different settings and stuff, and getting on the gas a little harder just to see what it feels like, both with it on and with it off, just for kind of comparison's sake. I'm at 18 miles per gallon now. I got as high as 18.7 and it was still climbing. So I think it's just me. I think it's the way I've been driving the truck, and I think I'm the one that's hurting the fuel economy. One thing that people had asked me about when I got the lift and the different wheels and tires, if I'd noticed any kind of a fuel economy drop. No, I really haven't. I really do think it's just me messing around with the truck and nothing to do with normal fuel economy. By the way, I want to close out with the lift and the wheel and tire setup that I put on. I went really pretty modest with this truck. I mean, it's a 2-inch lift, it's a level lift, and the tires are an inch taller, if you will. So that equates to a 1/2-inch rise, if you will, in the truck. So what I ended up with is 2.5 inches. I'm happy with that. I think if you go any further, anything really above 3, you're going to start to have issues with other things that you're going to need to change. I had that happen on my 2020 Tacoma. I had gone with a 3.5-inch lift, and I had a control arm blowout. The gasket or rubber part actually split, and all of the grease or whatever inside there came out. That was a bummer. So anyway, love the truck. Still think it's a step above the 3rd gen. Again, nothing wrong with the 3rd gen. This truck is just a little bit better. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.